Here we go. Number one, sensitive has two different definitions. First definition is that quick to notice or feel. The second one is when something is easily affected. Y'all see this freaking out over here? Hold on. I need you to work today. Okay, keep going. My fair skin is very sensitive to the sun, so I must wear sunblock every day. Does that mean that it's quick to notice or feel, or does that mean that the skin is easily affected? Nevaeh. You are correct. Number two is the definition, the way that it's used in that context. Number two, no, you are not allowed to bring glass containers to the beach. Where does the comma need to go? Potter. I don't think us on there. After the no. Remember, anytime we have yes or no or a direct address like a person's name, you need a comma. Bada bing? Number three, his dad had to work late, so he could not make it to the play. What would be your conjunction here? So. And then you have two sentences. There's no clause here. It's just two sentences joined together by this conjunction. His dad had to work late is sentence number one. He could not make it to the play is sentence number two, and it's joined together by so. Would that be coordinating or subordinating? Coordinating. You nailed it. Number four, if you use your handy-dandy reference guide, you will see that with the pronunciation key, it wants that O to be pronounced like the O in, here it is, go. So how would I say that word? Say it again. Drawer. What word rhymes with drawer? Follow, limit, floor, or finish? Floor. Easy peasy? Okay, this next one, you have to kind of use a little bit more of your problem-solving skills to figure out. It is an adage or a proverb, which just means it's an old saying. That's all that glitters is not gold, but it doesn't actually mean anything to do with glitter or gold. It means something deeper than that. What are you thinking? Any guesses on this one? It's okay if you're wrong. Just tell me what you're thinking. Scarlett?
Like everything that you think will be fun is not really. Like everything you think is not really what you think.
I'm so impressed. Look at Scarlett say, ooh, you're smart.
Ooh, you're smart.
All right, pencils up. We're going to summarize what Scarlett just said. Not everything is always as it appears to be. Or you could say not everything is always as good as it appears to be. It's kind of like the saying, the grass is greener on the other side kind of thing. When is your grammar test? Nope. Grammar test is Friday. When's your fluency check? Tomorrow. For anybody who was absent earlier this week, you guys have fluency handout 8B that is due tomorrow. Cool? All right, we have one more question we're going to answer before we get started with reading. Today's is a little bit different than what you've done before, but same concept. Write number 12 anywhere on that page because this is task card number 12. And we're going to see how good I can get this to freeze on the board. Are you ready? Edgar V, you got number 12 written up there? Okay, here we go. Boom. I'm getting pretty good. In 1903, Wilbur and Orville Wright were the first, eyes are on the board, people to successfully fly an. As children, their brothers enjoyed building and tinkering with things. Later, they owned printing and bicycle making. Good job. These skills and money made from these businesses helped them create several aircrafts during the... Finally, in 1903, the Wright brothers successfully flew the first controlled airplane at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Right, number 12 right there. All right, what's the main idea? I'm not going to give you multiple choice answers today. Can you just tell me what's the main idea? What's that text all about? I got one person that thinks she knows. 2 people. Going for 3. Can I get a 4th? All right, sold to number 3. Bella, what do you think the main idea of that text is? A? Okay. Did you just see the answer options? Are you telepathic? Oh, wait, you're going by the letters in there. Okay, we're going to get to the letters. Sorry for any confusion. Can you just put into your own words what that's all about?
I think it's about how the first plane was made and flown by Wilbur and Wright.
Look at her, say, get it, girl.
Get it, girl.
To summarize what she said, the main idea is that the first airplane was successfully flown by the Wright brothers. Easy peasy? Okay, but that's not the question that you're writing. Here's the question. The question is, which of these 3 sentences do you think best supports the fact that they were the first successful brothers to do this? Here are your 3 options. Does this make more sense now, Bella? A, as children, the brothers enjoyed building and tinkering with things. B, later they owned their own printing and bicycle making businesses. Or C, finally in 1903, the Wright brothers successfully flew the first controlled airplane at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Which of those 3 sentences best proves that they were the first ones to successfully fly a plane? You're writing your answer down next to number 12 right there, so I can come around and see what you did. All right, then we're going to point. If you think the answer was A, you're going to point to my desk. Cool? If you think the answer was B, you're going to point to the back corner where Mr. Grant is at. And if you think the answer is C, you're going to point to the tree. Pointers up. In 3, 2, 1, what'd you choose? The correct answer there is C. The Wright brothers were the first ones to successfully fly the plane. What words give it away in that sentence? There's 2 words that kind of make it obvious. Potter? Successfully flew. Okay, put these in your blue folders for me. Next up, you need your Wit and Wisdom books. And then we're going to pass out the Phantom Tollbooth books in just a second. All right, are we all in this? Nevaeh, can you push your chair out, baby? Okie dokie. Oh, I got to unfreeze my screen. For those of you that weren't here yesterday, we're going to quickly summarize the new character we got to meet yesterday. Do y'all remember what her name was?
Witch.
Yeah, that was her title, was Witch. What was her actual name?
Faintly macabre.
Faintly macabre, and she is the witch that is keeping them company in the jail cell. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So why is Milo in jail? Why is he stuck in prison? Abby?
Because the officer short shrift came to the word market because all the stalls had fallen down, and he thought that Milo and Talk looked suspicious, so he took them to the dungeon.
Don't be suspicious. Be suspicious. Yeah, so Milo pretty much got blamed for something that was the fault of the humbug and the spelling bee. At the very end of that chapter, we're going to look back and see what it says. So open up your books to page 70 by the time I get to 1. Page 70 in 3. Page 70 in 2. Bless you, Eggie. 1. Are you there, Grover? It's okay, we'll fix it later. Thanks, though, Edgarby. Okay, at the end of that chapter 5, we read Milo and Talk are wanting the witch to tell them a story. Did you catch that? He says, the witch said, "This return of what? Rhyme and reason," she repeated, "but that's a long story, and you may not want to hear it." "We would like it very much," barked Talk. "We really would," agreed Milo. And as the witch rocked slowly back and forth, she told them this. So who's going to be the narrator of chapter 6? Faintly Macabre is going to be the narrator, and she's telling the story of whom? Rhyme and reason. Eyes on the board up here in 3. Eyes on the board up here in 2. 1. Thanks for your whole body listening, Jordan, even though you're having to do a complete 360. So, Faintly Macabre tells them that she's going to explain a story about rhyme and reason. What do you think rhyme and reason mean? If you know what it means, don't answer. Let's go with somebody that has to use some inferencing skills. What do you think rhyme and reason means? All right. I want to call on Potter, but Potter is my constant companion for volunteers, so I'll have to go to the name wheel for this one. You want to? No?
No.
I thought y'all loved the name wheel.
No. Sometimes.
It's so colorful.
Well, this is just what you think. It's not. Oh my goodness. Never mind, Potter. You get to answer anyways. Potter.
Maybe like in a court you can reason with the judge or Oh, is it like, I forgot what it's called, but like when you're in jail, you can go somewhere where
Like court.
yeah.
Okay.
Forgot what it was called. Parole. Is it like parole?
I'm not sure. We can find out, though. Okay, so he's inferring that it's something to do with court. Cool? Okay, so what do you think it would mean if somebody said, this has no rhyme or reason? Like, look, I can always count on him. What if I came into the classroom and Kayla Marie lost her mind and was jumping up and down on the couch? And I walked in and I said, girl, there is no rhyme or reason for that. What would that mean? Eggie, what do you think? It's not right or wrong, it's just what you think. Nevaeh, you want to help him out?
Like, I'm trying to say reason in it.
You can.
Well, there's no reason to be jumping on the couch.
Yeah, like, you shouldn't be doing that. That's exactly what rhyme or reason means. Rhyme or reason, eyes are on the board again, means having or showing good sense, logic, or meaning. So if I was saying that there is no rhyme or reason, that means there's no sense to be doing that. There's no logic to be doing that. If I'm saying that somebody has good rhyme or reason, they have good sense, they have good logic. Can you get the door for me, Abby? Easy peasy? Easy. So these princesses, their names are rhyme and reason. What do you infer that they are going to have a lot of?
Rhyme and reason.
They're going to have a lot of sense or logic. Good morning, Miss Elena. Okay, so we're still focused on how and why writers play with words today. Our focusing question also remains the same. We're still studying how people can use wordplay to develop a story setting and characters. Today, our I can statement changes just a little bit because we're going to be working on the essential meaning of this story that Faintly Macabre is sharing about rhyme and reason. So repeat after me. Today I can. And I will determine the theme of chapter 6. And that's what our goal is. We're going to be talking a lot about chapter 6. We're going to be summarizing it. We're going to be asking some pretty complicated questions about it. But the end goal is that you can tell me what lesson was taught through chapter 6. And it's pretty challenging. So I hope you got your thinking caps on today. Hope you have them on. Cool? All right, page 71. And Pranav, can you pass Miss Elena a book for me? Thank you, baby. Page 71. She's rocking in her chair and she's telling this story. This is a longer chapter, so I'm just going to go ahead and warn you. You're going to have to consciously tell your mind that I'm going to whole body listen today. You should use your finger to follow along if that helps you. If you have fidgets or pencils in your hand, go ahead and set them down. Get that distraction away. Sit up straight and tall for me. I've got 3 roar tickets. I'm looking for people who are being responsible and respectful. Here we go. Page 71. Once upon a time, this land was a barren and frightening wilderness, whose high rocky mountains sheltered the evil winds, and whose barren valleys offered hospitality to no man. Few things grew, and those that did were bent and twisted, and their fruit was as bitter as a wormwood. What wasn't waste was desert, and what wasn't desert was rock, and the demons of darkness made their home in the hills. Evil creatures roamed at will through the countryside and down to the It was known as the land of Noel. Okay, quick question here. It says this place is the land of Noel, and there's basically nothing there but rock and demons. So what could you infer that Noel means? Scarlett?
Scary, just dark. Zero.
Maybe. Potter?
0, nothing.
Nothing there. Keep reading. Then one day a small ship appeared on the sea of knowledge. It carried a young prince seeking the future. In the name of goodness and truth, he laid claim to the country and set out to explore his new domain. All right, can somebody new tell me, what does the text mean when it says that he came and laid claim to this country? There was this land, nothing's there but demons and rocks, and this young princess comes and he lays claim. What does that mean to lay claim? What do you think?
That he kind of like claimed the land.
That's exactly what it means. He came over and he said, this is mine. And he wanted to explore his new domain. Put your finger on where it says the demons, monsters, and giants. The demons, monster, and giants were furious at his presumption, and they band together to drive him out. The earth shook with their battle, and when they had finally, top of page 72, finished, all that remained to the prince was a small piece of land at the edge of the sea. I'll build my city here, he declared, and that is what he did. So there was this young prince. He comes over. He says, this land is mine. And how did the demons and the monsters respond? Eggie?
Furious.
They're furious. I love that vocabulary. They're mad. So what do?
They had a battle with the prince.
Who won? You had to go back and look in the text.
The monsters.
They pretty much did because they kept majority of the land. So where did the prince settle?
On like a piece of the edge of the island.
That's right. All right, keep going. Before long, more ships came bearing settlers for the new land, and the city grew and pushed its boundaries further and further. Each day it was attacked anew, but nothing could destroy the prince's new city. And grow it did. Page 73. Soon it was no longer just a city. It was a kingdom. And it was called the Kingdom of
Wisdom.
But outside the walls, all was not safe. And the new king vowed to conquer the land which was rightfully his. So each spring he set forth with his army, and each autumn he... And year by year, the kingdom grew larger and more prosperous. Can you say that word? So each year, he's getting a little bit more land, and his kingdom is getting better and better. It's advancing. He took to himself a wife. What page are we on?
74.
And before long had 2 fine young sons, to whom he taught everything he knew, so that one day they may rule
Wisely.
When the boys grew to young manhood, the king called to him, and he said, I am becoming an old man and can no longer go forth to battle. You must take my place and found new cities in the wilderness, for the kingdom of wisdom must
Grow.
And so they did. One went south to the foothills of confusion and built the city of words. And one went north to the mountains of ignorance, and he built...
Digitopolis.
What's the root word of digitopolis?
Digit.
Digit. What does digit mean?
Number.
So what do you infer digitopolis is going to be?
All about
A
numbers.
city of numbers. Both cities flourished mightily, and the demons were driven back still further. Soon other cities and towns were founded in new lands, and at last only the furthest reaches of the wilderness remained to these terrible creatures. And there they waited, ready to strike down all who ventured near or relaxed their...
Gold.
Okay, pause here and flip over to the front or the back of the book where you see this map. We're going to get a visual of where all these places are located. Okay, so this is this new unventured land. Put your finger where it says the Sea of Knowledge right there. Put your finger to the far right where it says Sea of Knowledge. If you scoot it over just a little bit past the Island of Conclusions, which is one of my favorite stops throughout the journey, you'll see where it says the Old City of Wisdom. Go to the very, very front, sweetie. Do you see that? Okay, that is that little chunk of land that the king first got whenever he arrived. And then he had 2 sons. So if you put your finger down where Milo is currently, down there at Dictionopolis, that's where son 1 set up his kingdom. And then up at the top in the center of that book and that page, you'll see where this kingdom of Digitopolis is. Does that make sense? But there's also the places like the doldrums that we've already experienced, mountains of ignorance, valley of sound. So we know that these are not the only places that are going to be built. Easy peasy? All right, flip back over to page 74. Let's keep reading. Let's see where we were. About midway through the page on page 74, the 2 brothers were glad. Put your finger there. Sit up straight and tall for me. It's a big, long chapter today, but you can do it. The 2 brothers were glad, however, to go their separate ways, for they were, by nature, very suspicious and
Jealous.
Each one tried to outdo the other, and they worked so hard and diligently at it that before long their cities rivaled even wisdom in size and grandeur. Words are more important than wisdom, said one privately. Numbers are more important than wisdom, thought the other 2. And they grew to dislike each other more and more. The old king, however, who knew nothing of his son's animosity, was very happy in the twilight of his reign, and he spent his days quietly walking and contemplating in the royal...
Gardens.
Now, who's this story supposed to be all about? Do you think back to the beginning? Rhyme and reason. That's where they're about to enter the picture here. His only regret that was that he never had a... For he loved little girls as much as he loved his boys. One day, as he was strolling peacefully about the grounds, he discovered 2 tiny babies that had been abandoned in a basket under the grape arbor. They were beautiful, golden-haired girls. The king was overjoyed. They have been sent to my crown in my old age, he said, and called the queen, his ministers, the palace staff, and indeed the entire population too. Quick brain juice question. Why are there commas after queen, ministers, palace staff, and indeed the entire population? Why do they have commas there, Kayla Marie? Yeah, it's a list of people that he's doing. I love whoever cheered for her. Good, somewhat catch. Okay, keep going. Middle of page 75. When the old king, we'll call this one rhyme and reason. Put your finger there. The entire population came to see them. We'll call this one rhyme and this one reason, he said. And so they became the princesses of sweet rhyme and the princesses of pure and were brought up in the palace. When the old king finally died, the kingdom was divided between his two sons, which, with the provision that they would equally be responsible for the welfare of the young princesses. One son went south and became Azaz, the unbridged, king of Dictionopolis. And there's something unique about his name, Azaz. You notice anything? What letters are in his name? A to Z, like Dictionopolis and the dictionary, remember? Yeah, pretty cool, huh? And the other went north and became the math magician, ruler of... And true to their words, they both provided well for the little girls who continued to live in... Everyone loved the princesses because of their great beauty, their gentle ways, and their ability to settle all controversies fairly and reasonably. People with problems or grievances or arguments came from all over the land to seek advice, and even the two brothers, who by this time were fighting continuously, often called upon them to help decide matters of the state. It was said by everyone that rhyme and reason answer all problems. So when people don't get along, who do they go to for advice? And who are two main characters in this story that typically don't get along?
The princess.
Those two brothers. Do any of y'all fight with your siblings? Yeah, so rhyme and reason are like your parents when you're fighting with your sibling and your parent tells you who's right or who's wrong or y'all need to quit. That's kind of what they are, even though they're not their parents, they're their sisters, because they just have this natural ability to give good advice. Okay, sit up straight and tall. Keep trucking. Page 76. As the years passed, the two brothers grew further and further apart, and their separate kingdoms became richer and grander. Their disputes, however, became more and more difficult to reconcile, but always, with patience and love, the princesses set things right. Then one day they had the most terrible quarrel of all. King Azaz insisted that words were far more significant than numbers, and hence his kingdom was truly the greater. And the math magician claimed that numbers were much more important than words, and hence his kingdom was supreme. Here's another brain juice question. This is a very long sentence in there, but it has comma and in the center of it. And it has a sentence before the and a sentence after the and, which looks an awful lot like what we did this morning with grammar. So would that conjunction be subordinating or would it be coordinating? Arabelle? It is coordinating because it's connecting two sentences. Top of page 77. They discussed and debated and raved and ranted until they were on the verge of blows, when it was decided to submit the question to the arbitration by the princesses. After days of careful consideration in which all the evidence was weighed and all the witnesses heard, they made their decision. Words and numbers are of equal value, for in the cloak of knowledge one is warp and the other is wolf. It is no more important to count the sands than it is to name the stars. Therefore, let both kingdoms live in peace. Everyone was pleased with their verdict. Everyone, that is, but the brothers, who were besides themselves with... Why were the brothers angry? Why do you think they were angry, Pranav?
Because they were like fighting about which kingdom was like bigger and bigger.
So, but they asked these princesses for advice, and the princesses came back and they said, well, you're both equally. So why did that make them angry?
Because like one wants their kingdom to like think that it's bigger.
Mm-hmm. They want to be right. Yeah, that's a great way to verbalize it. Thank you, Bub. What good are these girls if they cannot settle an argument in someone's favor, they growled, since both were more interested in their own advantage than in the truth. will banish them from the kingdom forever. And so they were taken from the palace and sent far away to the castle in the air, and they have not been seen since. That is why today in all this land there is neither rhyme nor reason. That sentence is so important because they're saying in this entire fictional world that we're living in right now, in all the land there is neither rhyme nor reason. Rhyme and reason are not there. So what else is not in the land? What do their names mean?
There's no common sense.
There's no sense. Nothing makes sense or logic. Remember how the 5 advisors talk in synonyms?
Yes.
And how the Lethargarians don't do anything all day? And you guys were constantly asking, that doesn't make sense. That's kind of weird. This is why. Because rhyme and reason, all logic, has literally left the kingdoms. Oh, pretty cool, huh? And what happened to the 2 rulers? Asked Milo. Banishing the 2 princesses was the last thing they ever agreed upon, and they soon fell to warring with each other. Despite this, their own kingdoms have continued to prosper, but the old city of wisdom has fallen into great disrepair, and there is no one there to set things right. So you see, until the princesses return, I shall have to stay. Yes. What's up, Grover?
How is it possible if the castle in the air, but if there's still, if rhyme and reason still is in the air, aren't they still on the property of the land?
We're going to look back at the map so you can visualize where they're at, but they're not living in the kingdom of wisdom anymore, and they're also not involved in helping make decisions. So remember how they were like the parents for you guys, and they helped make decisions on who was right or wrong? Nobody's getting their input anymore. They're not there. So people are just arguing with themselves. They were the logic and what made sense, and they're gone. Good question. Okay, page 78, almost done, and then we've got some partner work to do. Maybe we can rescue them, said Milo, as he saw how sad the witch looked. Oh, that would be difficult, she replied. The castle in the air is far from here, and one stairway which leads to it is guarded by fierce and black-hearted demons. Tot growled ominously, for he hated even the thought of. I'm afraid there's not much a little boy and a doll can do. But you never mind, it's not so bad. I've grown quite used to it here. But you must be going, or else you'll waste the whole day. Oh, we're here for 6 million years, sighed Milo. And I don't see any way to. Nonsense, scolded the witch. You mustn't take Officer Shrift so seriously. He loves to put people in prison, but he doesn't care about keeping them there. Now just press the button in the wall and be on your way. Milo pressed the button and a door swung open, letting in a shaft of brilliant sunshine. Goodbye, come again, shouted the witch as they stepped outside and the door slammed. Shut. What? What just happened? They just got out. So what question do you have then?
Why doesn't the witch just go?
Why? Why doesn't she just leave? Jordan? Who's not there?
Rhyme.
And what does rhyme or reason mean?
Logic.
Yeah, nothing makes sense. There's no logic. So she could get out if she wanted to, but she's stuck.
She wants logic.
Milo and Talk stood blinking, bottom of page 78, in the bright light, and their eyes became accustomed to it. The first things they saw were the king's advisors again rushing towards them. Oh, there you are. Where have you been? We've been looking for you. The royal banquet is about to begin. Come with us. They seemed very agitated and out of breath as Milo walked along with them. But what about my car? He asked. Don't need it, replied the Duke. No use for it, said the minister. Superfluous, advised the Count. Unnecessary, stated the Earl. Uncalled for, cried the. We'll take our vehicle, conveyance, rig, charbonc, chariot, buggy, coach. They repeated quickly in order and pointed to a small wooden wagon. Oh dear, all those words again. Bless you, baby, thought Milo as he climbed into the wagon with Talk and the cabinet members. There's tissues on the back table if you need them. How are you going to make it move? It doesn't have a... Be very quiet, advised the Duke, for it goes without saying. Have y'all ever heard that expression before? It goes without saying. Here's an example for you. If y'all were like being super loud, talkative in the hallway, and I walked out and said, you know, it goes without saying, y'all are quiet in the hallway. That just means I shouldn't have to tell you to be quiet in the hallway because y'all have known that since kindergarten, right? For it goes without saying is a way to say, you know, that's a known fact. You with me? So that's an idiom or an expression that's used. But here, just like when it had the wheels turning, they're using it literally. So Milo gets in the car and he's like, how are you going to make this car go? And the Duke says, shh. It goes without saying. Why are you giggling, Potter? What does it mean then?
Like it goes without saying anything. It drives itself by not saying anything.
Yeah, the car is literally going to go when people stop talking or saying. Does that make sense? They took this figurative piece of language and they used it literally. And sure enough, as soon as they were all quite still, it began to move quickly through the streets. And in a very short time, they arrived at the royal palace. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here, and we could spend probably another 20 minutes sitting still, but I need to get you up and moving and talking. So here's what we're going to do. The workbooks in your lap, open up to page 13A by the time I get to 1. 13A and 3, summary. So you're not going to write, okay? We have another activity that we're hoping to get to today. So in order to save time, we're just going to vocally explain and summarize. We're not going to write our summaries today. Easy peasy? Keep in mind, our goal is to talk about the theme. So that's what our mission is. That's where we're trying to get. But before we can talk about theme, let's just wrap our head around everything that we just discovered in chapter 6. So when you hear the word go, you and your partner, does everybody remember who their partner is? Yeah. If you don't, I can help you. But you and your partner are going to find a spot in the room. I really don't care where. Just don't go in the coat closet area. And you're going to discuss all of these 3 questions in the setting box. So as always, I'll model for you how to do this real quick. Let's pretend Bella is my partner. Me and Bella chose to sit on the stage. And thank you for whole body listening right now, Arabelle, because I know you're going to know what to do in just a second because you're listening so well. So me and her are going to go off. We're going to open our book, and I'm going to read this sentence starter right here. This story takes place in partner 1. I'm going to answer this question. Am I going to write it? No, remember it's an oral story map. I'm going to explain where I think the story took place. Because I answered that question, obviously partner number 2, which in this case would be Bella, she's going to answer the next one. So she's going to read this sentence starter. Before the young prince arrived, the place was, and describe the land, what was it like? Does that make sense? So you're ping-ponging these questions. Let's say Bella is reading hers and she doesn't know what the answer is. What do you do when you don't know what the answer is?
Ask your friend.
Come on now, you can do this. Think hard. You have this beautiful big text in front of you, and if you're not sure what the...
I'll read in the book.
There you go. Way to redeem yourself. You can look back in the book. What chapter is it in?
7.
All the answers to this is chapter 6. Okay. All right. If you guys finish this setting, you can move on ahead. But I'm going to spin the wheel in just a minute to randomly select one of you to summarize the setting. So right now you're just focused on these 3. If you finish that, you can keep trucking. But just know we're going to spin the wheel, and one of you lucky winners is going to get to summarize with all these questions about the setting. Easy peasy? Okay. You and your partners get together, find a spot in the room, and go. Okay. So what did you say? What was the land like before the young prince got there? Demons. Yeah, you can keep moving on. You don't have to wait. Paragraph 1. What was in that land right there before they took it over? Edgar V, you okay, baby? What's up? Oh, yeah, the demons? What else was there? Yeah, rock. So all of those things would be included. And then after the king came and took it over, how did it change is the next question. Keep going. And it's going to land on Dulce, who's also not in here right now. Oh, Dulce, you are. I'm so sorry. Okay. Dulce, can you answer a few different questions about the setting? So the first one was asking you, where's the story taking place? And it kind of has 2 answers. Where did you guys say the story is taking place at? What's the setting? Land of, and it's kind of hard to answer, right? Because it's the land of wisdom, Dictionopolis, Digitopolis, all of those places combined. That was 1, the land. It's explaining how the land came about. The second setting is, where is Milo sitting at while this story is being told? In the dungeon. Look at her, say, ooh, you're smart. Ooh, you're smart. Okay, now we're going to move on to do the characters. So if you look in that second column, it's asking you to explain the different characters. So it has the prince that took the land over. It has King Azaz, who's the king of Dictionopolis. It has the mathematician, who is the king of Digitopolis, and the princesses. So what you're going to do is point to each one of those. Take turns with your partner describing those characters. Remember, this isn't our focus, so we're going to do this quick and easy. Cool? All right, go ahead. I'm going to explain the characters in this chapter. You can use your partner to help you out because there's lots of different characters to talk about. Miss Arabelle, are you ready? Okay, how would we describe that young prince who came and claimed the land as his own? What would you say is true about him?
He's stubborn because the monster told him to get out, but he didn't get out.
He could be stubborn. That's a good inference. If I had to fight a bunch of demons and evil spirits, I think I would just head back home. I don't know if I'd be stubborn enough to stick with it. What else did you say about him, Sam? You had a good one.
I said he was wise
Why?
because he's the king of wisdom.
He's the king of wisdom who got it established. So he must have some kind of wisdom there. All right, back to Arabelle. What did you guys say about the king Azaz, the king of Dictionopolis?
We didn't get to that part yet.
That's okay. Can you guys help her out? Who else did get to King Azaz, the king of Dictionopolis? Scarlett?
We said he is selfish,
Why?
jealous,
Mm-hmm.
because he's jealous of his brother,
Mm-hmm.
and well, they're both selfish because they sent their sisters up in the air.
Yep. And they're both strong-willed, right? So that's how they're similar, but there's a big difference between the brothers, and it was the heart of their argument. King Azaz feels very strongly about something, and the math magician feels very strongly about something entirely different. Do you remember what is their starkest difference? Harper? Yeah, one of them is very passionate about words, and the other one's very passionate about numbers. Cool? All right, and the last one, the one that we talked the most about, is rhyme and reason. What would we say is true about them? Any volunteers? Potter?
I said they're kind of like, if you have a problem, you come to them. They kind of help you. They like give you a verdict, a final conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
They're very elegant. It says like in the story, it says like everyone loved them because they were very motherly. They were kind of nice and they had a gentle touch.
Great at advice too, right? Okay, last thing we're going to do before we work on what's called a chalk talk is you guys are going to flip 13A over to the back. If you flip the page over to the back, there has action steps. So it wants you to summarize the action that happened in the chapter. What happened first, what happened next, after that. You're going to do that top box right there and the box where it says ending. Does that make sense? If you notice, there's sentence starters in there, so all you have to do is read the sentence and then fill in the rest of it. Cool? Go ahead and get started. What fell down there?
And then he fought the demons.
He fought the demons. He won a little piece of land, right? And then what happened after that?
He made a city.
He built a whole city there. And then he had two sons. Do you remember what their names were? Azaz and... Look back in here. Go back over to page number... Oh, let's see. It actually doesn't tell you their names until a little bit later on. The bottom of page 76, where it will talk to you about how King Azaz was the ruler of words. And the other one was? Math magician. Can you say that? Good. And he was the kingdom of, the ruler of Digitopolis, the numbers. Okay, so then what happened?
Then the king got two friends.
Two friends? Is that what you said?
The two sons.
Okay, he had the two sons. That's King Azaz, a math magician. They're the two sons. And then he got two more of something else.
Rhyme and reason.
Yeah, and they were, how did he get them? Look back on the top.
Because they were abandoned in, I think, the forest.
They were abandoned as babies, and so he kind of adopted them, right?
Because they were really tiny.
Uh-huh. All right, keep talking. Work together when I walk away. Talk about what happened after he adopted the two girls as his own. Then what happened? Keep chucking. Finally, you get to go back to our I can statement and talk about the most important part. Oh, my goodness. Okay. the person that it lands on, you're going to kind of paraphrase and put in your own words, what did you read about today? Miss Bella. Yay, Bella. Well, she's got a mouthful of food for a snack. Okay, Bella, what happened in the beginning of this chapter? The first thing that the witch starts talking about. And she's doing a great thing right there. She's confused, put on the spot, has to talk in front of everybody. And so your safety net is always to go back and look at what?
The book.
The book. So it starts off, I think it's page 71, Bella. Page 71, what's the very first thing that she explains in her story? Yep, there's demons and there's evil living there. Okay, what happened next?
He said that he would build a city there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he also had to fight the demons for the land.
Yep, there's a young prince. I love your whole body listening, Jordan. Nose, belly, and toes are facing Bella. Over here, Grover. So the young prince wants to take over the land, and then he grows up and he has 2 sons. Do you remember what their names were, what they became the rulers of?
The city of Dipshanopoulos
Mm-hmm.
and the city of Dipshanopoulos.
You're halfway there. Keep going, girl. And he always wanted daughters. So how did he get them? Can you help her out, Harper? Do you remember that part? He found them in his royal gardens. He more or less like adopted them. What did he name them? Princesses of Rhyme and Reason. And they grew up, and what special talents could they do?
Giving really good advice.
They're really good advice givers. I wish I had Rhyme and Reason princess friends. Okay, so they were amazing at giving advice. What was the issue?
They went to go give advice to the 2 brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and they wasn't pleased with how they settled the argument, so they banished them to the castle there.
They banished them from the classroom. Do y'all know what that word banish means? Like if I banish you from the classroom, that would mean what, Arabelle?
You're not allowed to go there anymore.
Yep, you got to go out and can't come back. Some of you would be like, yay, no more reading. And then some of you would be super sad because you can't finish the book, right? Okay, now the most important part. Remember that I can statement we talked about? How you can infer, explain what the theme of the text is, what's the lesson here. This is a really super challenging question. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get with your partner, and I want you to brainstorm a specific part of the chapter. Eye contact up here in 3, 2, 1. You with me, Sam? You're going to brainstorm this specific part. The brothers are in a fight, and they go to the princesses for advice. The princesses give them their fabulous, wonderful princess type advice, and it's correct. They're like, both of you are wrong. Words and numbers are equally important. In hindsight, they got banished for that. Was that right or wrong for the brothers to banish them? Okay, now think of what lesson can I pull from this experience that I could apply to my own life? Or what lesson could Milo learn listening to this story? Or you could even think of it as what lessons should the brother have learned instead of banishing them? Cool? All right, turn and chew on those thoughts. See if you can come up with a lesson. They should have listened to their advice. Is that a lesson you can apply in your own life? How so?
That's a hard question.
It is a hard question, but you're a smart thinker. How can you apply that lesson from the book to your own life? About listening to others' advice. Here, I spun the wheel while y'all were talking, and it landed on Miss Harper. Remember, it's okay to not get the textbook definition of a correct answer. Just tell me what you're thinking. What lesson do you think that you could pull out or Milo could pull out from that?
That if somebody makes like an assumption on something like and they're right,
Mm-hmm.
you
Don't hold grudge against people. For sure. Pranav, will you share what you talked about?
in like real life incidents, like it could be like a speed limit law, and if you like don't listen to the speed limit, like you might crash.
Okay, so they kind of took it down a little bit of a bunny trail, but the idea was that if you're not listening to the correct advice, it could get you into trouble, right? Arabelle?
That whenever you ask for like their opinion and they give you their truth opinion, you can't be mad at them because you asked for it.
Look at her go, ooh, you're smart.
Ooh, you're smart.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Arabelle. Sometimes you have to accept people's opinion or advice, even if you don't agree with it. Cool? All right, turn and face the board. We're going to do something new today. It's called a chalk talk. You did one at the very beginning of the year, but we haven't really done one since. Turn eyes, belly, toes up here in 3, 2, 1. A chalk talk is a way for you guys to engage in conversation with your writing instead of your talking necessarily. I'm going to kind of amend the rule just a little bit. I'm going to let you talk about these questions, but only with your assigned partner. Does that make sense? So there are 6, I think there's 6, there might be 5 or 6 posters posted around the room. You and your group are going to go around, travel, and visit them. You're going to write your answer on a sticky note, and you're going to stick it to the board. Tomorrow when you come to class, we're going to start by sharing your ideas that you put on the posters. Cool? So, again, I'm going to model for you. Me and my invisible partner, Casper the Friendly Ghost, we're over here, and our poster says, what should the brothers have done instead of banishing the princesses? So I'm going to talk to my partner, Casper the Friendly Ghost. We're going to come up with our answer. I'm going to write it down on my sticky note, and I'm going to put it on the board. Easy peasy? The next poster that we go to, this one reads, why do you think Milo is eager to save the princesses? Since I got to write on the sticky note the last time, Casper here, he's going to write on the sticky note and post it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you're taking turns, but both of you are working on the conversation piece. There are a few more. This one says, what is the story of Rhyme and Reason really about? The one in the back here, what do you predict is going to happen next? There's one behind Mr. Grant on the air vent right there. What wisdom can we learn from the story? Sorry to put my laser in your eye. And the one on the podium, why is this chapter important to the overall book? The one on the podium is really like a challenge question because we haven't seen a question like that before. It kind of gets into text structure. I'm super excited to talk about that one tomorrow. But think about this. Why does this story matter to Milo and his journey in this land? Why does this story matter at all? Why do you think the author included that in there? Cool? Okay, remember, we're going to use accountable talk. Do you think it would be following our ROAR expectations for you to put IDK on your sticky note? Do you think it would be wise to put something on there like, I don't agree with that answer, that's stupid? No, you want to use accountable talk. Say things that are meaningful, complete sentences. Don't stress out about spelling, just get your ideas on paper. If you see your idea already up there, you can write a sticky note and stick it underneath that one and just say, I agree with this because. Or if you see one that you're like, that's totally wrong, you could write one that says, I disagree with this because. Cool?